And welcome back, or just welcome if you're new here. My name is Rusty, and this is me channel, where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly metal, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And I realized I did not pull up the page. Going too fast. So, welcome back to Shark Week as we finish up with my final movie choice for this particular Shark Week. There will be others. And that is 2016's The Shallows. Now, I just got this a couple of days ago. I had the DVD, so I upgraded it, and the 4K Blu-ray was actually cheaper than the plain Blu-ray. Not that I have a 4K player, but I've got it in any event. As long as it comes with Blu-ray, it's alright. So, yeah, I replaced that. Now, this was released in 2016 and stars Blake Lively. And because I didn't pull the page up, I can't tell you anything else. But, yeah. Now, I absolutely love this movie. Now, of the 7, this is the only one that I had seen. As a matter of fact, I've seen this probably 3 or 4 times. But, yeah, this is the only one of the 7 movies for this week that is not a first-time watch. I'm very familiar with this movie. I love this movie. And let's get down to it. Now, this movie opens with a little boy running down the beach who he finds a GoPro helmet. That's a helmet with a GoPro camera on it. And, yeah. So he finds it, he picks it up, he's looking at it, he looks at the video, and you see some surfers carrying on, and then a big giant shark, and he goes running off. Now we flash to a girl named Nancy. She is riding with Carlos. She is a girl from Texas who is on vacation. And as they're talking, he is taking her to this secret beach. And she is going to meet her friend there. However, on the way, the friend messages her and says that she can't come. She's backing out because she has the Irish flu, which is probably known by its better name, and that is a really bad hangover. So she's going to be there alone. Carlos takes her to the beach. Nobody will ever tell you what the name of the beach is, but she gets there, and it's very, very beautiful. She looks around. She actually sees 2 other surfers out there. She gets ready, goes out there, even like introduces herself. They introduce themselves. She actually hangs with them for a while. They surf. Beautiful surfing footage. She goes and rests at the beach, where we see through her messaging apps. She talks to her sister and her dad. We learn this information. Her mother died of cancer. She is a medical student who she hasn't dropped out of medical school, but she's in a crisis right now, which is why she's on this vacation. Her daddy is even saying, please don't drop out, and she's very upset about her mother having died of cancer. So it's kind of put her in a sort of crisis of faith about being a doctor. So she doesn't really know what to do. And she needs this time to get herself together. So she goes back out there. She's surfing again. We have dolphins love to scare you in shark movies, don't they? So we have a nice little dolphin scare when she realizes that the other 2 surfers are leaving. They're packing their Jeep up, and she's still way out there. She sort of realizes just how alone she is in this beautiful place. But she sucks it up, goes back to surfing, where a shark comes after her and knocks her off the board. A really, really, really big shark. Knocks her off the board, then bites her really good in the thigh. She manages to climb back on to this big dead whale, which is probably what that shark had been feeding on. So she climbs up on it, which is pretty gross. Her thigh is really ripped, you know. So she manages, the shark starts then like attacking the whale. It's like the shark wants her. So we're back to that Jaws kind of mentality. It's got this giant whale there, but it wants her and starts trying to knock her off of the whale. But that's what these movies are supposed to be, even though a real shark probably wouldn't do anything like that. These are, the monster is the shark. So the shark wants her. So it tries to knock her off, and she manages to get to this little reef that the guys had told her about. When the tide goes out, there's a reef there, but when the tide is fully back in, it's underwater. So she manages to get to that. She's very injured. And so is this little gull, which is the cutest thing. This little gull stays with her through the whole movie. So you have this little injured gull, and she ends up having to stitch up her wound. She uses her earrings as sutures to hold the wound together. That was painful. It's, she goes through the night nearly freezing, low tide. The little timer keeps telling you like when high tide is coming. When she wakes up the next morning, she even tries to she wakes up with these crabs all over her, and she tries to eat one. No, I wouldn't. I understand, but I wouldn't. It doesn't work anyway. She pukes it up. Or she doesn't even get it down. She can you imagine? But, so the gull eats it. She tries one time. She's like, I'm going to try for sure. She thinks maybe he's gone. So she tries for sure, but sure enough, the shark pops up and is like, no, you're not. We're not going to do that. I want to eat you. Okay? Fuck that whale. I know that's a big meal, but you're what I want. So she manages to get back to the reef. While she's there, she notices that there is someone passed out on the beach. It's this skanky, middle-aged, drunk-looking guy. She screams and screams until he wakes up. She points him towards her stuff. Get my phone, call help, blah, blah. Well, as you would expect and would be my luck, he just goes over there and takes all of her shit and steals it. And she's like, you can have it all. Just call somebody to help my ass. But thankfully, and this was a very satisfying death, he sees her surfboard floating. And he's like, that's worth some money. And that's true. So he's like, I'm going to steal her phone and all her shit. I'm going to get the board too. Even though he was doing this and leaving her there to potentially die, she tries to warn him. Which is actually, I guess I'm mean, but when you pull that shit on me, I would have been like, come here, I've got money. Swim, come to me, I have a lot of money. But she tries to warn him. And, of course, they don't show you what happened, but you see her face as she oh my God, and stuff like that. And then you're like, well, what is the bitch saying? That's not cool. This is rated R, isn't it? I think. I don't know. Is it rated R? But you then get to see what's going on because it flashes to the beach and it shows him from the front crawling towards the camera. But his bottom half falls off. So he's like crawling, but from like his waist down is all of a sudden like a little bit behind him, and then he dies, and you're like, karma is a bitch. You know what I mean? So I put good. So he gets eaten, and I put good with an exclamation point. He crawls out in half. Yep. Okay. So now that it's day again, of course, those surfers come back and they see her out there and they start coming towards her. And she's trying to warn them. And this time it's righteous. You know, I mean, I would have been warning them too. You know, do not come into the water. You know, get the hell out. So she's trying to warn them. But then you see the first one get in a really cool scene. And then you see the other one get, he almost makes it to her. And she tries to help him out. And he doesn't make it. He's like ripped right out of her hands. And he's wearing that helmet with the GoPro on it. So you kind of notice that and you're like, that's... Okay, so this is a flashback actually. That's... Okay. Okay, I see. So it gets down to where it's like about 25 minutes to high five. It's like about 25 minutes to high tide. And there's the cool scene where she fixes the gull's wing, which I thought was cute. But she manages to fix the gull's wing. And she knows that things are getting to the end. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen soon. Because high tide is coming in and this water is going to come up over this place and she is going to be exposed to the shark. Now, this whole time there's this big buoy, a big metal buoy that has been sitting out there. And it's actually closer to her than the shore is. So she's like, okay, now that I've fixed the bird, she puts the bird on half of that, one of that guy's surfboards and floats it out. And I kept saying, don't you dare fucking eat that bird. But she pushes the bird on because tide's coming in, so she knows that the board's going to go to shore. So she puts the bird on the board and sends it towards the beach. And I kept expecting the shark to eat it because, you know, it's just like that bird in Deep Blue Sea. You know, what, Ice Cube's bird, you know, goes through all of that and they let the shark eat it. That was just mean. But so I kept expecting that. But so she decides that she sees all these jellyfish and she's like, that's why the shark, if I can get through to that buoy, through those jellyfish, he's going to come after me. But when he hits these jellyfish, so she tries to navigate these jellyfish, and we had that talk about me and the jellyfish, all right? So that was a particularly ugly scene to me. But she manages to get to the buoy. The jellyfish does hold the shark off. So she manages to get to that. And, yeah. Now, when she's on the buoy, the shark is just like, I'm not having this, okay? He keeps trying to knock the buoy over. She manages to find a flare gun and a bunch of flares. One of them fizzles out. One of them doesn't hardly go anywhere. She manages to shoot the shark with one of them, but they're mostly useless for their actual purpose. They look like they were about 120 years old. So, she comes up with the idea for, like, I think it was like the last one, and that is she noticed all of the whale oil, you know, because that dead whale is out there. So, like, there's all of this whale oil all over the thing. So she shoots the water and sets that whale oil on fire, which sets the shark on fire But of course, he puts himself right back out. All that does is piss him off. Because now he's like, bitch, it's on. Okay? It's on now. You tried to burn me. It's on. So he really starts ripping that thing to shreds. Now, she gets this really cool idea, and that is that during the time that she's being knocked off into the water, she looks down, she sees that the anchor on this buoy is a bunch of like jagged spikes and rebar, big giant long spikes of rebar and stuff like that. And she gets this really good idea, and that is, okay, this chain is about to snap. This shark ain't gonna stop until this chain snaps. When the chain snaps, which is extremely heavy, if I'm holding on to that chain, it's going to pull me straight down to the anchor, to where it's cement anchored into the bottom. Fast. So I saw that idea. I remember the first time I saw it, I saw what she was doing, but I didn't know exactly how she was going to accomplish it. And when that chain broke and it started pulling her really fast towards the bottom, that shark was like, there you go. That's what I've been waiting for. I've been working for 2 days for this ass. I'm fisting to eat it. So he comes after her, and he's like just feet from her feet. And all the way down, he's like super speed trying to catch up to her. She's been brought down there. I mean, it was fast. Then right when she starts to get to it, she jumps out of the way. She lets the chain go and jumps out the way, and the shark is like impaled. Unsurvivably impaled on like 30. Is it 30? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe 25 gigantic spikes of rebar. So then you see, I put so cool because that impaling was so cool. But so then we flash to the shore and we see the boy, and we realize this is the beginning of the scene at the beginning of the movie. The boy comes, he grabs it, he looks at the thing, and then he also sees the message that she had left on there. It was sort of like a final message to her family. And that's when he ran. He got his dad, Carlos. Carlos came by, or I assume it's his dad. Carlos comes back and sees her floating in the water. Grabs her, pulls her in. Thankfully it was high tide, or tide was coming in, right? So he pulls her up onto the beach. He manages to get her revived. She coughs up a bunch of water. And then interestingly, you see the gull walk by her head. You know, he's standing right over there, and you're like, oh, the gull made it. Isn't that cute? You know, the gull made it. So she lived through it, and everything's good to go. So we then kind of flash 1 year later, and we're on the Texas coast in Galveston, and she's there looking lovingly out at the waves, and her little sister is getting her scuba gear on, or her surfing gear on, wetsuit and stuff, and she's taking her out, and they show, you know, as she's looking at the water, she rubs her thigh, and you see these big, ugly, giant scars on her leg, and she's still going to go surfing, and I understand that. I understand that people will do that. My ass wouldn't. You understand? It took one jellyfish to end my ocean career. You know, I lived on the beach. I've lived here, you know, all my life. Well, 6 months here, 6 months in England, 6 months here. But when I come here, I'm right next to the beach. So half my life has been right here next to the beach. And I have zero interest. Zero. But I understand, like, people who love surfing and scuba and stuff like that, bad stuff like that can happen to them, and they'll go right back to it. It's like, I know, but I have to be strong. I have to be strong. You're not going to take away this thing that I love. Well, good for you, I guess. I don't know. When they do eat your ass, though, do not be upset from the afterlife when you hear me calling you a dumb motherfucker. I'm sorry. I don't, you're not going to hear me go, oh, she was so brave. She went back to that thing that she loved. And yeah, I know she nearly got ripped apart by that shark, but she went back. She kept her chin up and she went back to doing it. And, she stuck with it. No, I'm going to be going, bitch didn't learn her lesson the first time and now she's shark shit in the bottom of the ocean somewhere. I don't know. Well, pieces of her are anyway. So I really don't know how I feel about those people that nearly die in scuba diving accidents or shark attacks and falling off a mountain climbing, and then they pick their boots up and they go right back to it. I don't really know how I feel about that. Because I kind of take that as like a hint, I certainly took that jellyfish when I was 14. I took that as a hint. You don't belong in here. No, I don't. And I'm okay with that. It's all right. I have no problem with that. I accept it. I took the hint. But that's the shallows. Again, I just upgraded this, so it'll be in my December update, which will be in January. And I will see you in whatever I do next. Well, next I'm going to do my November update and get this out of the way since it's now December. So, yeah, we're going to do my November update, and then I will do something else. Now, for those out there who are wondering, where is Jaws? It's Shark Week, for God's sake. Okay, well, let me answer a couple of those questions. Where is Jaws? I've already done a video on Jaws. All you got to do is go to my videos and go down and keep going down until you find it. I did Jaws. Okay, but where is Deep Blue Sea? Well, Deep Blue Sea is a trilogy that I've just actually, I've always had Deep Blue Sea since it came out, but I just got the other two. I know that they supposedly are not very great. They're just mediocre, like that sequel to 47 Meters Down. So I understand that they're mediocre sequels, but I'm going to do the Deep Blue Sea trilogy together. Same with Open Water. Actually, what I'm going to do with Open Water is I now have all 3 Open Waters. And in case you didn't know, Open Water 3 is a found footage movie, and I didn't know that. I do now, but I didn't know then. So I'm going to do, when I do Open Water, the Open Water trilogy, I'm going to do 1, 2, and then 3 is going to start a found footage festival. So that's the way I have that planned. We have to have plans. I'm also going to be doing Wolf Week very soon. I figured what I would do was that I would do a couple of randoms, like 3 randoms, like bodies or something like that. I figured I would do 3 randoms and then I would do Wolf Week. So that's what should be coming up next is Wolf Week. So look forward to that if you care to. And I will see you in the next one. Love you, miss you. Bye. And never forget that you are a wonderful and special and unique individual, even if you are all alone in a beautiful lagoon with a very, very big shark that really, really wants to eat you. He just wants to give you a hug. Just a little hug. That's all he wants. He's not going to hurt you. It'll be all right. Sharks don't kill people. Bye.